Peasant Productions presents the massive ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Okay, now I've been discussing how I build each layer upon the previous layer. Okay, so we're going to discuss the rat system now, and I'm going to show you why this is extremely important. Okay, stop and consider that your shuttle, it comes up, you get the engine system put on, you have all of these RBE engines, reactive blast engines, RB engines. Okay, also in memory of my son, who's still alive, and I've been fighting for his human rights to be restored for 25 years now. Remember Benjamin, okay? RB, remember Benjamin, the RB engines, okay, reactive blast engines, okay, you put them on the shuttle, it becomes basically a helicopter in space, and you do whatever you want. You've got belly tank connections that you can, have fuel tanks for the reactionary engines. You can add on anything you want connected, outside that for them to be able to have more fuel. You've got these main engines here, which of course will just simply take the blast material and continue to work no matter what. Even in space, you collect your local asteroids, which at the moment we're averaging something like 5 good-sized meteorites a week coming to Earth. So that means 5 asteroids a week are collectible to put together anything you need on this list for anything you need to build the rats, the satellite, a moon base. Okay, and you have these guys which are fully capable of delivering it anywhere in at least moon's orbit. Okay. Like I said, you could definitely do the microbus tour to go to Mars with it if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you, okay? And that's what brings us over here to the rats, retrieval asteroid tug ships, okay? Basically, the ship is this little center dot. I have new neighbors. They're doing the usual thing here of, putting, so my apologies to that. You have, basically, it looks more like an octopus at this point, because you would have to have at least 8 of these engines that come out on arms. And I'm going to pick something else up here in a moment. And you've got this center section, which is your living quarters, your computer guidance, all the basic controls and things you need to do to survive out there as a traveling ship. There are no friction issues out there in space, so none of this has to be all aerodynamically shaped down in pretty sleek little starships like you see in the movies and stuff. It can be quite whatever you need to do to get this. But each of these different RBE engines out there is kind of be like this cup here, okay? The blast area back there, it only needs a little bit of funneling. You don't even need this to open and close any, because you do not have anything major, unlike here on Earth where a jet tightening down the throat of its jet engine gives it a harder, line blast in a certain area, and there propels the jet faster. You're not going to get quite as much here. You still can. That's not a problem. You can, but you don't need to, just simply having all of that energy blasting out. And because you're using sand and dirt and stuff like that, you're not going to. It's not going to be like having the $1,000 a pound fuels that the United States NASA now uses. And this engine out here, totally easy to move around and point. You don't need it this direction, folks. You only need it to be able to do this much. The reason being is very simple. Here's your asteroid, here's your tug ship, and like I said, rats came from the idea that you have this long cable going back. You can't push a rope, you can't push a chain, you can't push a cable. Anybody that's got any kind of nautical, naval type stuff understands that cable has to remain relatively tight at all times. So what happens is you're out there, each one of these is totally independently controllable. So you have this one way up here putting out at full blast, and you have the one down here at the opposite end barely putting out anything. You are going to slowly rotate the whole entire thing, the asteroid and the ship, with the cable relatively tightly taut the whole time around. You'll have the asteroid now pointing in the direction you're going. The engines are still pointing this direction back at the asteroid, but they're now pointed in the direction you're going, and you can begin blasting, and you will literally slow your asteroid down for a parking orbit. Now, just about anything you can find in the way of an asteroid is going to be ice. It's going to give you water. It's also going to give you possible oxygen you can separate out. You're going to have maybe chemicals and stuff you can use for tempering of stuff or creating metals and ceramics and glass. Okay? All these asteroids are out there. Iron, nickel asteroids are hitting the U.S. all the time. So these guys are going to need metal. Your space stations are going to need metal. Your shuttle conversion to work ship is going to need metal. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Your shuttle conversion ships, okay, these work ships are going to need fuel for the RB engines, even if they're nothing more than somebody flying around from one of these to the next as a lunch truck, right? The lunch truck doesn't have time to run out there and grab an asteroid and come back and grind up their own. So you got an instant gas station when you bring in a worthless pile of dirt asteroid, which, by the way, people like this need the dirt so they have something to grow plants in. Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? Absolutely everything that you can possibly get in the form of an asteroid right now is an absolute commodity to sell to somebody else. Think about it. You get an asteroid, bring it in, you are instantly an independent gas station. Yeah, you can sell it. Now the way this works too is you got this cable going back and hooking into your asteroid to pull it, or more than one, possibly more than one cable to make certain everything's relatively safe. But you also attach to this cable going back another tube with, you take one of these the England to France channel, they had that big grinding head go through. Well, you put one of those grinding heads that's, anywhere from, say, 2 feet across to, say, 10 or 15 meters across. On the end of a hollow tube, you have that connect up over here on your asteroid, and it doesn't have to drill straight through. It can literally just sit there and be in some kind of motion like this, where it's just grinding away, and you can make the circles as wide as you want, and you just simply grind off some, and you are resupplying yourself with fuel, because all that tube's going down here. You got no friction, you got no gravity, you got next to nothing to clog the tube, so it's a free, easy system of continuously refueling yourself as you're bringing that asteroid back, or you're going to Mars. I mean, think about it. Elon Musk could take one of these and go to Mars. Yeah, he wouldn't have any problem. And when he got to Mars, you just grab a pile of sand and go. And, with what I show here, I wouldn't be surprised if you could make one of these rats actually land on Mars. So you've got all of that. It looks more like an octopus because you've got 8 of these engines out there to give you a nice balance. I don't think we need to go much over 8. We want to be using Linux because you need to be able to carry 2 or 3 or 4 of these backup computer systems with you when you go out. You don't want to have to be trying to wire back to the United States for permission to use a system. So we want Linux. We want nice, compact, little things. We want operating systems that are very small in comparison to the amount of memory and RAM and computer abilities and stuff like that, because you don't want to be wasting a bunch of time out here sending back data about who you buy from and what you buy back to somebody who's collecting it and only using it to figure out who they can turn around and sell you off onto so they can make some more money off of you. The original ones of these, there's going to be so many of these shuttle lifeboats that we can park 100 or so of them out there in space and create an internet system that doesn't care about fake news. We want to take every single piece of data we can and just simply put it up there. If you're not smart enough to sit there and understand that a gold chariot wheel, if you can't understand that's a fake photograph, when something that you logically could not in any way, shape, or form see if it was actually sitting on the bottom of the ocean for any length of time, even a half hour, that bottom point would be stuck in the sand. Yeah, if you can't tell the difference between fake or not fake, that's your thing to deal with. That's not the computer and the internet system to worry about who to censor or not censor. We simply get all the information up. You become wise enough to figure out what to use. Now, that same internet system, because it's beaming down, and because we can very easily take Linux software and build an internet system that is nothing more than a briefcase size, that is satellite transmittable up into space, so that if you're wandering this planet when all the internet systems here start going down, because they're going to collapse, you don't have any way to stop what's going on. Okay, they're either going to collapse because viruses and stuff kill people off and nobody's around to do it. They're going to, they're going to collapse because you no longer have countries talking to one another. These people, when this hits, you're going to have an awful lot of borders shut down. People don't want anybody coming in because they're going to be afraid of the plague coming across. Okay, the same way you raised up your gates on the castles in the old days. Yeah, the plague's going to come by air. They're going to throw the plague up and over your walls, anyways. But that's the effect psychologically you're going to have when this really starts taking effect. So, in the 70s, you could use a satellite phone in the middle of the Amazon, and then no problem. You get something now that's a complete internet system. It's up, it's running. Everybody can buy these quick and cheap and easy, and people can start being concerned about survival. Okay, the same system of shuttles around the planet is going to be beaming it out into space, folks. That means everybody, at least from the moon in, whether you got 1,000, like I said, whether you got 4,000 or 5,000, 10,000 satellites up there on the Lagrange points around, outside along the Lagrange points out there, these all need to have communications, okay, from one to the next. Now you can either be like paranoid military and have tight beam, or you can just sit there and just broadcast it out. It's a big wide beam, and 4,000, 10,000 of these are all talking to everybody all at the same time, and nobody has any problems, and nobody's concerned about somebody else trying to censor them. They can censor whatever they want inside of themselves, but you're out there and you're available. And somebody going out there to the asteroid belt, that lone miner, that prospector, got his mule with him, and he's going out there in the old days. Well, now he's got his rat and he's going out there, okay? He's still got some way to send data and stuff back, because he just points his directional antenna back towards Earth, wherever it's at, and there's enough computer power on his ship, because he's not running one of these bloated Apple and Microsoft systems, and there is enough power receiving on the other end of Earth that he's picked up and relayed back and forth. And it might take him 2 days, 3 days to get a message to his kids, tell him happy birthday 3 days before his birthday so the message gets to him. But the system works in space. So you have an entire system. You have rats that are going to go out, and anything they bring back from the asteroid belt is a viable, sellable product to your growing community of survival out in space. Whether it's the moon that uses it, whether it's a satellite that uses it, whether it's the planet itself that uses it, because you're bringing back a huge chunk of fresh water and you're bottling it up and you're dropping it back down or something. It doesn't matter. You have an economy and it works. But like I say, you need to stop and think about it, because like I say, you're running out of time, folks. You're running out of time. That's why the gods asked me to step in, is because I have a habit of beating the devil. That's what I was kind of brought here for. And this is your devil. Okay? More than you humans are the actual Satan or devil. You're the people that didn't care about what you were doing to your planet. You have damaged it. You are now created the demon that is going to destroy you.